Hello, and welcome. Beneath the headlines and political noise, a profound shift is quietly reshaping the U.S. job market. Instead of a dramatic crash, we're seeing a slow erosion. Entire communities are feeling the ground shift beneath them. This isn't just about numbers. It's about the fabric of American life unraveling in real time. To understand this crisis, we need to zoom in on the local pressures driving national trends. Today, we'll examine 10 states on the brink, each telling a unique story of economic upheaval. Let's dive in and see what's really happening. We begin in California, a land that has long captured the world's imagination with its sun-soaked beaches, sprawling cities, and promise of a better life. For generations, California has stood as a symbol of innovation and opportunity, drawing dreamers, entrepreneurs, and families from across the globe. Silicon Valley's tech boom once promised not just wealth and progress, but a future where anyone with ambition could thrive. But now, mass layoffs are sending shockwaves through the state, shattering the illusion of endless growth and stability. The collapse of high-paying tech jobs collides with a crushing cost of living, as rents and home prices remain out of reach for many. This economic squeeze is leaving countless residents unable to afford their homes, forcing difficult decisions and painful goodbyes. Middle and working-class families are fleeing, not for lack of love for California, but because the dream they chased is slipping away. The state's prosperity no longer includes them. Unemployment is rising, and more people are struggling to make ends meet. The gap between billionaires and the homeless grows ever wider, with wealth and poverty now living side by side. The tech bust is exposing deep inequalities that were hidden during the boom, revealing a fragile foundation beneath the glittering surface. California's crisis warns of the dangers of relying on a single volatile industry, and the risks of putting all hope in one basket. For many, the dream is fading, replaced by economic whiplash and uncertainty about what the future holds in the Golden State. Next, New York, a global financial powerhouse now facing a slow bleed. Automation and fintech are shrinking Wall Street's workforce, eroding the city's tax base. The pandemic accelerated remote work, leaving Manhattan's offices empty and secondary businesses struggling. As commercial real estate and commuter taxes dwindle, the city faces tough choices: cut services or raise taxes, risking further exodus. New York's identity, built on dense concentration of people and capital, is under threat. The challenge is to adapt to a decentralized future or risk a fiscal doom loop. The downsizing in finance is forcing a fundamental reimagining of what New York will be. The state's future depends on how it answers that question. In Texas, oil has long been king, fueling both prosperity and volatility. The global shift toward renewables and electric vehicles is casting doubt on oil's future. As investment wanes, local economies built around oil fields face sudden unemployment spikes. Towns like Midland and Odessa can boom or bust overnight, with layoffs rippling through every sector. Texas has diversified into tech and healthcare, but oil remains central to its identity. The challenge is managing a slow decline in oil, while building a sustainable future. For thousands, their livelihoods hang in the balance. Texas stands at a crossroads between its past and what comes next. Illinois, once an industrial powerhouse and the beating heart of America's manufacturing might, now faces the consequences of a decades-long decline in its factories and mills. The echoes of industry that once filled the air have faded, leaving behind a landscape forever changed. Globalization and automation have gutted factory jobs, sending work overseas or replacing it with machines. The result: shuttered plants, deserted industrial parks, and communities struggling to find their footing after losing the jobs that once defined them. While Chicago's downtown pulses with new energy and investment, the surrounding neighborhoods and smaller cities like Peoria and Rockford are left behind, their main streets marked by empty storefronts and fading hope. The loss of manufacturing means not just lost jobs, but the collapse of local businesses, shrinking tax bases, and a sense of community unraveling. Schools, libraries, and public services all feel the strain. Replacement jobs in retail and logistics pay less, offer fewer benefits, and rarely provide the stability that manufacturing once did. For many, these new roles are a step down, deepening inequality and insecurity. The state's economic model is broken. High-skilled jobs in technology and healthcare are out of reach for many, while low-skilled jobs fail to provide a living wage or a path to upward mobility. Public pension deficits and mounting social pressures add to the crisis, threatening the future of essential services and the well-being of public employees. Illinois is now a state divided between haves and have-nots, between thriving enclaves and struggling towns. Searching for a new identity and a way forward, the question remains, what will replace the old industrial economy, and can Illinois reinvent itself for a new era, or will it remain haunted by the ghosts of its past? Florida's paradise is built on tourism, but that foundation is fragile. Economic shocks, hurricanes, or pandemics can devastate the service sector overnight. Tourism jobs are often low-wage, seasonal, and lack benefits, leaving workers in constant precarity. Soaring housing and insurance costs are making it impossible for many workers to live near their jobs. The state's population booms, but much of the growth is retirees and remote workers, not those who keep the economy running. Employers face labor shortages, while workers face a quality-of-life crisis. Florida's main economic engine doesn't pay enough for workers to stay. The state must reconcile its image as a paradise with the reality for its workforce. Pennsylvania's legacy industries, coal and steel, once built the nation, but now they're mostly gone. Pittsburgh has reinvented itself, but smaller mill towns remain stuck in decline. The collapse of coal and steel has left deep economic and psychological scars. New jobs in warehouses or fast food don't offer the stability or pride of union factory work. The state is split thriving cities versus struggling rural and post-industrial areas. Population loss, aging workers, and the opioid crisis define many communities. Pennsylvania's challenge is bridging the gap between prosperity and despair. The future depends on finding new engines of growth for left-behind regions. Ohio's prosperity was built on manufacturing, especially autos, but that era is over. Globalization and automation have decimated factory jobs, with plants closing or moving south. The collapse of the auto industry triggered waves of unemployment and urban decay. Cities, like Akron and Youngstown, struggle to redefine themselves in a post-industrial world. New jobs in healthcare and education exist, but don't offer the same broad prosperity. Ohio is caught between a lost past and an uncertain future. Retraining workers and revitalizing communities is a massive challenge. Ohio's struggle mirrors the entire Rust Belt's fight for relevance. Michigan, long known as the beating heart of the American auto industry, now finds itself at a crossroads. The rise of electric vehicles is not just a technological shift, it's an existential threat to the region's identity and economic foundation. The transition to EVs means cars with fewer moving parts, less need for traditional labor, and entire supply chains that once powered Michigan's prosperity now facing uncertainty. For decades, waves of layoffs and plant closures have already hollowed out cities like Detroit, leaving behind empty factories and struggling neighborhoods. The recent UAW strikes are more than just labor disputes. They're a cry for security, as workers fear being left behind in the race toward electrification. Michigan is now one of the few states experiencing significant population decline, a trend that's fueling a deepening fiscal crisis and threatening the future of entire communities. As Detroit's population plummets, the city faces shrinking tax revenues, reduced public services, and a cycle of decay that's hard to reverse. Michigan's story stands as a stark warning about the dangers of over-reliance on a single, rapidly evolving industry, and the consequences when change comes too fast. To survive, the state must reinvent itself, fostering innovation, retraining workers, and building new industries to secure a brighter future. For Michigan's workers and communities, the stakes have never been higher. The choices made now will shape the state's destiny for generations to come. Nevada's economy is built on gambling and entertainment, a high-stakes bet on tourism. When crises hit, like the 2008 crash or the pandemic, the entire state suffers instant, massive job losses. Most jobs are low-wage and precarious, with little security for workers. The pandemic exposed just how vulnerable Nevada's economy is to outside shocks. Efforts to diversify exist, but the gravitational pull of the Strip remains strong. Nevada's story is a lesson in the risks of putting all your economic chips on one bet. The state's prosperity can vanish overnight. Sometimes, the house really does lose. Arizona's explosive growth has been fueled by construction and real estate. The economy soars when housing demand is high, but crashes when interest rates rise. The current slowdown is hitting construction workers, architects, and realtors hard. Rising costs and water shortages threaten the state's long-term sustainability. As Arizona's appeal fades, population growth may stall, exposing the fragility of its boom. The state faces a reckoning. Can it survive a slowdown, or is it too dependent on endless growth? Diversification is crucial, but the transition is painful for workers. Arizona's future depends on adapting to new realities. The bust is a harsh wake-up call for those who built the boom. Across these 10 states, the American workforce faces profound upheaval. Over-reliance on single industries, technological disruption, and rising costs are creating instability. The jobs that built the middle class are disappearing, and new ones don't offer the same security. Solutions require honest conversation, innovative policy, and a commitment to resilience. Each state's crisis is unique, but the need for adaptation is universal. By understanding these local stories, we can work toward a stronger, more equitable future. Thank you for watching.